So before BTS became BTS in December of 2010, J-Hope came to Seoul for the first time as a teenager, and he was confused, lost, and could not find a way to get to the big hit trainee dorm. So he calls the A&R team, asks them directions, gets to the dorm, and the first thing he sees is Suga in his underwear, the other trainees in his underwear, food in the sink, and he was like, I guess this is what dorm life is like. I read the BTS Beyond the Story book a week before their comeback, just to go through their journey and record one more time before this huge moment that will be here in a week. Chapter 1 is Seoul. So RM was already active in the hip hop scene, and he was actually recommended to P-Dog when he asked Sleepy, another rapper, if he knew any young rappers, because they were recruiting at the time. Jin was basically street casted, and he got into it because his plan was to debut as an idol and then merge acting into it somehow, because acting was his main goal. V actually just went to accompany his friend for the audition, but they asked to see him and he ended up getting it. Jungkook actually auditioned for a survival, like a singing reality program, and he got calls from multiple companies. However, his dad at the time knew that Bang PD was well respected in the industry as a producer and songwriter. That's why he recommended Big Hit, and then he looked up videos online of RM rapping and he was sold. Suga was also a producer and rapper already before he was signed by Big Hit Entertainment. Jimin joined in 2012. Jimin was actually the last one to join 6 months after V and had the shortest training period time. Once they started living together, like in the dorm, their days became extremely hectic. Like Hobie said that they would wake up at 10 a.m, then they would eat, then they would go to the practice room, and then by the time they ended it would be 10 p.m. already. So it was basically wake up, practice, review, repeat. Jin says that on days they had a lot of stuff to do, they would end up practicing 14 hours a day out of 24 hours. When Jin first joined, he saw that Suga basically was just eating to live, and looking at that, Jin was like, yeah, this won't do. So he started cooking for the members and cleaning and everything. But after like 3 months or so, he said that he started to understand why the members and the other trainees were living the way they were living, because their life had gone far too busy for it to be considered normal anymore. Now many members, almost all the members, had to learn something they did not expect to learn at all. Like for example, originally this group was planned as a hip hop group, right? So there was no need for major dancing, so RM and Suga thought that they would actually not have to dance at all. But then as the vision changed and became a hip hop idol group, they had to learn dancing. On the other hand, the other members had to learn to rap, right? Like J-Hope didn't know how to rap. He said the atmosphere at the time was like, it was literally like a rap den with the trainees, because they would always be freestyling and he couldn't do it yet. Later when he learned and the other members joined, RM would make playlists of songs from Lil Wayne, Warren G, like the big at the time as A$AP Rocky, and he would make them listen to it and ask them if they find it anything cool. And Jimin said that's how they got into the hip-hop mindset. As I said, the other members didn't expect that they would have to be heavy on the dancing. J-Hope and Jimin, who were already well-versed in dancing, they taught the other members how to dance, and J-Hope said his main objective was to basically make it fun for the members, like how RM and Suga made rapping fun for them. Now Suga was actually working multiple part-time jobs leading up to his debut, because he had to support his family financially. Jungkook was the youngest, like he was, I don't know what, 13 when he joined, so it was extremely difficult for him in this new life, all these strangers. RM had the responsibility of being the leader, and he says Bang PD would always remind him that you need to wake up your group, like you need to let them understand that even a small mistake can end up being really risky. So he had a lot of pressure on him since he was so young. J-Hope and Jimin say that a lot of the time the members did not click, obviously, because they were these strangers who were just thrown together, and it took them a really long time to respect that they were different people, they could think differently. Now because the backgrounds of everyone was so different, Jimin said that he thought that RM Suga and J-Hope would be debuting as a hip-hop group first, because he just could not imagine all of these members coming together as a group. Some wanted to become musicians while others just wanted to be on stage. So over time, slowly with arguments and conversations, they learned how to trust each other, and that is how they were slowly beginning to become a team. Now chapter 2 is called Why We Exist. Main obstacle here comes in debut, because BTS was not from the big three at the time. The big three are SM, JYP and YG. Now these were the big companies. Like if you debuted a group from them, they were most likely to succeed. Big Hit on the other hand was the extremely small company. For example, SM had debuted EXO that year and they were everywhere, like their popularity was already present. YG also debuted Winner that year, who also already had a prevalent fan base. Now because they were from a small company, they were easy targets basically, because they were from a small company in the K-pop industry. So there was also a time when they said that they see Big Bang as their role models. Now Big Bang was a YG group and they were also the kind of group that BTS was trying to become, like, you know, a hip-hop idol group. So that's why they said that we see them as our role models. But at the time it was like that if you're from a small company, naming a big group as your idols, as a role model, is looked down upon, because the fans of that group are like, how dare you name my big group as your role model. For the debut promotion, Bang PD recommended RM and the group to like record themselves as vlogs and just videos of them talking or practicing or doing anything, and then posting it on YouTube. Now BTS were basically streamers before being streamer was a thing, because they did not have the big, you know, budget like the other companies to spend it in promoting by going to various variety shows. So they had to do with what they can, and it turned out to be the best method, because that is how they slowly started gaining fans. Because at the time, being so bare and unpolished, unfiltered with your fans was not a thing in the idol industry. It is something that was started because of BTS, because they were able to be honest with their fans. They started posting these videos of them practicing, singing, just doing stuff. Like Jin would just put on a camera while he was cooking or eating or something. Now their debut song was No More Dream, from the album Too Cool for School. Now this choreography was extremely hard is what the members remember. I think they still say that it was one of the most hardest choreographies that they did. They basically practiced from day to night. We said that when they would get out of their dorm at night, they would literally be steaming. Like there would be steam from their body, like Eren from Attack on Titan. Bang PD since that time told RM that I want you to write your struggles, like about teenage struggles. Now this was obviously a pressure on RM, because he was doing this for the first time, right? This was basically their debut. So he basically ended up making like 29 different versions for the lyrics. V was actually planned to be a secret member, so he was not revealed yet. So that, like, he was supposed to be a surprise member, like they would reveal him at the debut. So when the other members would get fan letters and stuff, he would not be getting any, because, you know, he was not introduced yet. So he would be sad about that. But Jimin would comfort him, okay, it's just because you haven't been revealed yet. Now because they were slowly gaining fans because of the vlogs that they were doing, during their debut showcase, Jimin still remembers he saw this first line of row filled with their fans, and then he still remembers them. Now BTS debuted with almost no expectations, because, you know, the debut showcase you have where you perform like 2 songs for your debut album. So the comments under that post were so vile and negative and basically just mean. They were like, yeah, these guys are not gonna last long. Basically everyone was just mocking them because of how they were dressed, but no one was able to see the artistry that they had put into this song, the lyricism, the effort that they had put into this choreo, which was explosive. But thankfully some were able to see it, and those people ended up being their fans. Now during this time was when the Be-Free incident happened. I'm sure many of the army are familiar with it. It was basically when RM and Suga went to this interview, and a rapper from the same industry was present there, and he basically without listening to the album or researching anything about them was just being disrespectful. Like, how can you call yourself rappers if you're not? You're idols. Not knowing that BTS were literally trying to build a bridge between both of those worlds. So yeah, he was just basically a dipshit and nonsensical. But obviously it affected the members a lot. RM said later that insult is the only word he can choose to describe it, and that he remembers that incident as just their struggle for recognition. American Hustle Life was basically a TV show they shot in the US, which would premiere on Mnet to know more about the roots of the hip hop culture. However, they were also preparing for Danger at the time, so the members said that they would literally shoot the show from morning to evening, and then from evening to night they would prepare for Danger and the new album. Jungkook, however, said this was a very meaningful experience, as when he returned, his dance style has changed completely and for the better. Now, RM describes their first 4 albums as sweet, bitter, and sadly Danger falls in the bitter category because it did not do well. J-Hope, I think, remembered a time when they were invited for a broadcast because they were announcing the winner for that week, and they found out that they weren't even nominees. This was a huge setback for them and it hit them really hard. We basically said that let's work really hard so no one can look down on us ever again. Okay, so Mama and MMA are the big two, awards in Korea, and during this, Mama was like BTS's chance to prove themselves and to showcase themselves. So they had collabed with Block B, who was another hip hop idol group, in a performance for like a friendly competition. So they were already gritting their teeth and preparing really hard for it. But just the day before this performance, there was a show at the time called Show Me the Money. It was basically a rapper show for idol rappers, and Bobby from Icon was in it, and he basically called out multiple rappers, idols, like a friendly fire. But RM obviously had to respond to it, and he already had like some hours, like not even a full day, to make up his mind like should he or should he not. But he ended up indirectly influencing that situation in his rap in the performance. The performance is absolutely bomb though. You should really watch it. Like we said, they gave their absolute 200% for it, and you can literally see it with your eyes. So yeah, despite all this, the fan base continued to grow slowly, and at the end of 2014, the biggest employers started noticing that they are just getting more and more fans. Chapter 3 is Love, Hate, Army. So after debuting in 2013 and getting to 2014 somehow, 2015 they were like, are we on the right path? Especially Hobie was really starting to doubt himself, like, am I on the right path? They said that they could see the fan base growing and stuff, but it felt so out of reach that they were not able to grasp anything. Yoongi said that this is where they started producing Vayanana, like the most beautiful moment in life, the album, and he basically locked himself in a studio and was like, if this doesn't work out, I'm quitting music. There are a lot of songs in this album which are very honest, which makes sense why this series is a fan favorite album. For example, Moving On is a song where Suga talks about his mom. Like, after she gave birth to him, she had a heart surgery, and one day while he was sleeping on his chest, he could hear the tick tick from her heart, and that's when he got to know that is how it happened. So he felt really guilty about that, and I think that was one of the key moments which made him want to really strive to be hungry for success and to make a name for himself. Now this is the time that the members moved into a new dorm. Before, they were living like only a 1-room dorm, like with bunk beds, like 7 people in like 1 room. So they finally moved into a bigger dorm compared to this, and it really gave them more space. Jungkook bought his first computer during this time and like made a small space like in his showcase, and that is how the Golden Closet films came to be in the GCF. Now I Need You was supposed to be the new single. Now this was a really bold choice by Bang PD, because firstly I Need You was going in a different direction, like from their hip hop image. This was really like a soulful melody. And secondly, the music video. Now there were 2 versions of music video released for this song. So before the like official music video, another video was released with this song, and it was like a storytelling music video, and this was a first in the industry. There were no fancy sets, it was just the boys acting in their specific roles, and I Need You has a dark undertone to it. So yeah, no one had done it at the time. They were kind of the first to do it. Thirdly, the song, like when Bang PD first made him listen to the song, I remember Jungkook being like, this is it, like this is our beginning. It was that good. It debuted number 2 on the Melon chart, which was the first for them. For the first time, they truly felt like people were listening to their music. Now, the Bhaya Nana sold more than, and on May 5th, 2015, BTS won their first position at Music Bank for I Need You. This was their first time winning the award. Namjoon said that this felt like they were being rewarded for all their hard work and gave him a sense of feeling alive. This was also the moment they began to recognize, oh, we do have fans. They knew they had fans obviously before. This is when they started to grasp it. This is also the time they began to self-produce content, like Run BTS was around this time, because this is not mentioned in the book, but I'm pretty sure usually you promote through variety shows, right? But variety shows also need you to bring in an audience, and BTS was not popular at the time, so no one would take them on the variety shows. That is when they thought of just making their own variety show. It also doesn't need to have any time limit or any specific number of episodes. They can just continue doing it for as long as they want, and it's coming back soon, Run BTS. So yeah. Now during this period, they produced and released Fire, and we said they were basically like, let's burn it all down, like let's burn this shit up. Jin said this song helped him a lot with this confidence, and it is a fan favorite obviously. This was also the time when they performed in the Olympic Gymnastic Arena, which was at the time the biggest arena in Korea to perform before the Gochok Dome. Now strangely, the distance between their debut and their performance at this Olympic stadium was more compared to this Olympic arena tour and the stadium tour. Chapter 4 is called Inside Out. Now it was during this time that the fans started like growing. They started noticing English comments in a lot of their videos. Bhaya Nana Part 2 entered the Billboard chart at 171, though this was not a huge rank, but no one had actually entered the Billboard chart before, so this was a huge feat for them. This was the time they started preparing for the Wings era. Now Wings era was also distinct because this was the first time all the members had solo tracks and a chance to express themselves through only their own songs. The intro for this album, Boy Meets Evil, was done by J-Hope. Now he was extremely nervous for this because this was his first time doing an intro for an album. Previously only Arim or Suga had did it. So he was like, he went over the choreography over 100 times. It is one of my favorite intros by the way, and the performance especially, the video is so good. This was the time we was also filming Harang, the drama, and he was getting into his acting stitch. So it was extremely hectic for him because it was like he would record, produce and go on tour, and then he would have to take a flight to Korea like instantly and shoot the drama. So it was like extremely hectic for him. He was like shooting the drama, practice, shooting the drama, practice. That was how his days were going. Now Blood, Sweat and Tears was the title track for this one, and it was basically a blast. Actually, I was in 7th or 8th standard when Blood, Sweat and Tears came out, and I remember watching the MV at the time. However, I was younger then and I could not fully understand the magnitude of what I was seeing, but I do remember watching Blood, Sweat and Tears music video at the time it came. Now Bang PD made a lot of creative decisions for Wings. For example, they made a Wings concept book basically documenting the whole process, like from making songs, editing, recording. At the same time, they were also producing a docu-series called Burn the Stage, which was also a first. It did not shy away from showing the members fainting or being out of breath. This level of transparency was enough for the fans to connect with them compared to most idol companies who were only showing the perfect filtered image. In 2017, they also took on the name Beyond the Scene. This rebranding helped BTS come out as a global artist group and not just as a K-pop idol group. Now again, Mama, they did an amazing Mama performance. Now that they were recognized, they had 11 minutes full to themselves to use however they wanted. This was also a huge year for them because they won Artist of the Year for the first time at Mama, which they still say that they were completely sure that they were not going to win it. They faced a huge amount of backlash and mistreatment from basically everyone because they just could not believe that a small group from his company had suddenly exceeded in popularity and ended up winning Artist of the Year and not their faves from the big three. So they were accused of chart manipulation. Handia chart confirmed that the numbers were indeed legitimate and not fabricated. There was no chart manipulation involved. However, this could not get in the brain of dumb fucks, so they continued the hate train towards them. These were the moments though where the bond between BTS and their fans increased. Now in 2017, BTS donated like 100 million Korean won to an organization to support the Seoul ferry tragedy. But basically, Spring Day ended up becoming a symbol of the tragedy, and people used it to lessen their hurt and feel comfort through that song. Namjoon said that the song is free to interpretation however they wanted. RM and Suga both said that it was about their close friends whom they were not in touch with anymore and could not meet them, and it was just there are times when artists write a song and they just know that this is it. That was him with Spring Day. He wanted to make a evergreen, everlasting song, and that he did because Spring Day is just always on the charts. You will never see it off the charts. In 2017, BTS attended the Billboard Music Awards (BBMAs), and this was their first time winning the Top Social Artist Award. Around the same time, they also started a Love Yourself series albums. They were promoting Love Yourself Her. Now, as BTS began promoting in the United States, one of the main hurdles was the language barrier, because only RM in the group could speak proper English. So the other members struggled to express themselves if questions were asked to them a lot. But it wasn't easy for Namjoon as well. He recalls times where they would just tell him that he had to do an interview with like 11 broadcast channels and he would have only like minutes to prepare. This was a huge pressure for him because he had to avoid causing misunderstandings speaking in English and avoid sensitive topics, and they were also representing BTS and Korea at the same time, so it was a huge responsibility for him. During the 2010 Mama Awards, Jin revealed that they were basically thinking of disbanding. They were really struggling mentally towards this time, and disbandment was an option they were considering. Jimin said he began to recover during this period when he watched video of ARMY singing Young Forever, and he was one of the first members to get back on track, and he was like, I really hope the other members would get back to being how they were. Many groups wait till their contract ends, right, to renew, but they renewed it like before it even officially ended, like for 7 years. Jin said for him, like, he is BTS and BTS is him, and without even one of these people, BTS would not be BTS, and he was basically considering to quit the entertainment industry altogether if BTS is back. BTS also attended the United Nations Assembly in 2018. They spoke at the launch of UNICEF's campaign for their Love Yourself, No Island campaign. RM delivered his speech in English. I really recommend you to watch that video because that speech is just indescribable how good that was. Now BTS performed Idol at the MMA 2018. It was basically them, combining these cultural elements of Korea with their music, and it gave them a lot of recognition worldwide. Love Yourself Her even reached number 1 on Billboard 200. Now this global influence helped push K-pop into the mainstream media, all because of BTS. Chapter 6 is the World of BTS. This is the time they released Map of the Soul Persona, and the Melon Store was literally crashed because of the demand of the album. This was also the time they announced Armypedia. It was like an online puzzle thing, like you could solve these puzzles with clues and then you get to upload your own memories of BTS or something. This was actually an online event. You could see how global ARMY had become, and there were even offline events held in like each country where BTS weren't even present. They also performed on SNL, Saturday Night Live. People literally camped outside to get a ticket. They did their first Love Yourself, Speak Yourself stadium tour. They performed at all of the big stadiums in all of the countries. Like they performed in Wembley, they performed in Stade de France, they performed in Dubai Stadium. Now despite this success, Yoongi was still struggling with anxiety. He describes it as it felt like people were just waiting for them to fall. He was scared that this would end like every artist that meets their popularity quickly and then falls just as quickly. So he was struggling with that a lot. This is when they took a small break in 2019 to just relax. Jin and Suga went fishing a lot. He said that he was thankful to Jin for this because it made him feel normal. During this time, RM also spent a lot of time reflecting on his life as an idol, artist and himself. RM actually said that Map of the Soul was supposed to be a trilogy, like Map of the Soul, Persona, Map of the Soul 7 and Map of the Soul 1, but they ended up turning it into a duology because they really needed that break. So they released Map of the Soul 7 later. On also had one of the most difficult choreographies. Jimin said he really wished they could have performed On at the Grammy Awards, but of course that became impossible later because of COVID. The last chapter is chapter 7BR. COVID had started and they had to cancel their tour. For the first time, BTS couldn't meet their fans in person, and this was a huge drawback to them because the main reason for them being in this is because of performing. They live for performance, they live for, sharing that joy on stage with their fans. So when they couldn't do that, this really put all of them in depressive state. Bang PD said that they should weekly come and show their daily lives to their fans. I still remember watching Hobie just dancing, Yoongi just painting. This was also the time BTS released Dynamite. It was their first English song. He was skeptical about how the public would respond to it, but obviously no one could predict the response to this song that would come, because they had just released it as to cheer up people, cheer up ARMY, but it ended up cheering like the whole world. Dynamite went on to top the Billboard chart, Billboard 100, and it stayed there for like 13 consecutive weeks. This was also the time they started creating B. Now for B, Bang PD wanted them to just do everything by themselves. The concept making, the production, handling everything, basically everything for this album was done by BTS. Now Life Goes On from this album also went on to top the Billboard chart. This was actually the first full Korean song to chart #1 on Billboard. This was the time that they came up with online concerts. Like first one was Bang Bang Con, then was Knock of the Soul 1. This was also when they released Butter, their second English single, which also topped the #1 spot on Billboard Hot 100. Later they released Permission to Dance, which was their third full English single. Now this was the period when quarantine was finally coming to an end. It had been like I think 2 years by now, and they held their first Permission to Dance Los Angeles LA concert, like the first big concert. It was of 2 days, I still remember it. And then in 2022 they released Proof, the anthology album. Yoongi said this multiple times as well, that as they started achieving their goals, like whatever they set, they would achieve it next. As that started happening, it came to a point where they were like, our only goal now is to be together for as long as we can and perform on stage for our fans as long as we can, and now that has become their only goal. Hobie summarizes it perfectly in the last paragraph of the book. Now reading this book a week before their comeback, clearly this journey is far from over. I actually had so much to talk about this book, but I couldn't obviously, because that would become like a 1-hour video. I hope I did not bore everyone. Well, I don't care because this is my channel and I will yap however much I want. So yeah, bye.